Welcome back to Celeb Daily Info. It's Danny in the house, and this one right here is a straight-up masterclass. You better buckle up, smash that like button, hit that subscribe, and get ready for this smoking hot takedown. CNN's ultra-snarky reporter Dana Bash thought she was about to Trump's former Treasury Secretary Scott Bessant, but instead, she got cooked alive. Fact by fact, point by point, strategy by strategy. This is a full-blown slam from start to finish. Scott Bessant came into this interview cool, calm, and in full control. He didn't just respond to questions, he exposed the bad faith behind them. Dana Bash came in with her usual smug tone, clearly not interested in real answers, just gotcha moments. And Scott, he didn't play along. He took her questions apart one by one and made her look completely unprepared.
Yale Budget Lab says the richest Americans will see their income rise by nearly 2%. The lowest earning Americans will see their income drop by 3% when factoring in cuts to Medicaid and food stamps. You argue that the benefits will really be aimed at the middle class. How does that square?
Dana, first, let's have a look at the Yale Budget Lab, because I was looking at their findings, and this week I actually went on their website. They're all ex-Biden officials, so I think we can discount everything they say. I'd encourage all your viewers to look at the composition of both the board and the staff, and it's just not right.
Bessant calls it out. Right off the bat, Bash tries to trap Bessant using a study from the Yale Budget Lab, claiming it shows the richest Americans getting richer and the poor getting hurt. But Bessant didn't even flinch. He calmly pointed out that the entire board behind that study is filled with former Biden officials. So why should anyone take it seriously? He straight up told viewers, go look at the board, go look at the staff. It's a Biden echo chamber. No need to dive into the numbers. He dismantled the credibility of the source itself. And when Dana tried to say, well, the numbers are still the numbers, Bessant turned the whole thing around. He said, Democrats cherry-pick the most hyper-partisan reports to support their narrative and ignore any serious or neutral data that doesn't fit the story they're trying to sell.
You say that there's going to be a lot happening over the next few days, and you don't want to give me the playbook. Is there a playbook?
Sure. The playbook is to apply maximum pressure. We saw that the EU was very slow in coming to the table. 3 weeks ago on a Friday morning, President Trump threatened 50% tariffs, and within a few hours, 5 of the European national leaders had called him, and Ursula von der Leyen, the head of the EU, was on the phone, and the EU is making very good progress. They were off to a slow start.
Then she tries to bait him again, saying, when you say a lot's happening behind the scenes, is there even a playbook? Like she caught him slipping. But Scott, cool as ever, explains how Trump's 50% tariff threat had European leaders calling within hours. That's called maximum pressure. That's called strategic diplomacy. Bessant explained how the EU was slow to act until Trump forced their hand. He didn't give away sensitive negotiation tactics on live TV because, obviously, that would be stupid. But Dana Bash pretended like not giving her private government strategies means there's no plan at all. It's laughable.
DC is a 20% hike over 10 years, a cut. So Medicaid funding will go up 20% over the next 10 years. The people who Medicaid were designed for, the pregnant women, the disabled, and families with children under 14 will be refocused. The able-bodied Americans are not vulnerable Americans, so a work requirement or a community service requirement, that's very popular with the public, and many state programs have that now.
It might be popular, but it's not what the president promised. The president promised that there would not be changes to Medicaid benefits, and putting a work requirement is, by definition, a change to benefits.
No, there are no change in benefits. There's a change in requirements to get the benefits. And what we are doing, we are bringing back manufacturing jobs. We are bringing back working class jobs. By securing the border, we have already seen working class wages move up. So we are creating jobs. People can get off Medicaid and get a job that has good health care benefits, Dana.
In theory, that works, but...
Then we get to the real heat. Bash tries to frame Trump's Medicaid policy as a cruel cut to poor people. She says that adding work requirements is technically a change in benefits. But Scott wasn't having it. He explained, benefits aren't being cut. They're actually going up 20% over 10 years. What's being added is a requirement for able-bodied Americans to work or volunteer to qualify. That's it. Not pregnant women, not the disabled, not families with young kids, just able-bodied people who are abusing the system. And the public loves that idea. When Dana said, but that's not what the president promised, Scott shot back. No, the president promised to protect vulnerable Americans. He never promised to subsidize laziness.
First of all, the Republicans are not the most vocal on this. It is a group of Democrats who unfortunately seem to think that poor people are stupid. I don't think poor people are stupid. I think they have agency, and I think to have them register twice a year for these benefits, that it is not a burden. But these people who want to infantilize the poor and those who need these Medicaid benefits are alarmist.
Yeah, but my impression of the Republican Party is that historically you've wanted to cut through the red tape and not create more red tape. But I do want to move on because...
Well, no. But...
And this is where Bessant goes in deeper, calling out the real prejudice at play here. He says, I don't think poor people are stupid. I think they have agency. He calls out Democrats for pretending that asking someone to register for benefits or work part-time is somehow cruel. And he says it straight. The people who infantilize the poor are the real alarmists. That's a reality check.
When I talk to small business owners, both doing interviews with them and just in and around in my life interacting with them, I have not met one who has not said, it's the uncertainty with the tariffs that is making it so hard for them to do business because they're kind of frozen in place. What do you say to those business owners?
Well, I'd say two things. The other thing they would probably have been telling you is it was the uncertainty around taxes. So with the one big beautiful bill, they now have great certainty on taxes.
No, they've said tariffs.
No, but let me finish. When I'm out talking to businesses, they want trade and taxes. So we have certainty on taxes now. All businesses know that they'll be getting 100% expensing for new plant and equipment. On tariffs, again, it is the 18 important trading relationships, and we're moving.
Bash says Republicans create red tape. Bessant counters elitism. Dana tries to pivot, claiming Republicans are supposed to fight red tape, so why add new requirements? But Scott wasn't letting that slide. He exposes the deeper issue, that Democrats are constantly lowering expectations for poor and minority communities. He brings up voter ID laws, saying Democrats oppose them because they think minorities can't figure out how to get an ID. Think about how racist that is. That's not compassion. That's elitism wrapped in fake concern. Democrats segregate more than anyone, Scott said. And Bash had no comeback. None.
One of the tax cuts that are in here are for, and the president talks about them a lot, are on tips and overtime. Mm-hmm. Those are temporary. Why not make those permanent? They're only 2025 to 2028.
This is a big part of President Trump's agenda. So, we have what I call parallel prosperity here, that Wall Street has done great. Now it's time for working Americans to do great. And this is President Trump's agenda, so we've got it in for the duration of his term. And we will see if the next administration wants to do that.
Bash says all small business owners care about tariffs. Bessant pushes back. Then comes one of the more arrogant moments of the interview. Bash tries to claim that every small business owner she's ever talked to in interviews or just randomly is scared of tariffs. And that must mean every small business in America feels the same. But when Bessant says, well, I hear more about taxes, she immediately cuts him off. Nope, they said tariffs. Just like that. As if her experience is the only one that matters. This is why the media is broken. They don't listen. They preach. And when Bessant mentions how Trump's tax policy gave 100% expensing to businesses and created more predictability, Bash didn't even acknowledge it. She had her script, and it didn't matter what facts were laid out in front of her. And finally, this was the knockout. Scott Bessant explains how Trump's plan to cut taxes on tips and overtime is designed to last from 2025 to 28, right up until the next election. That's intentional. Because in 2028, the next Democrat candidate will have to choose: keep the popular tax break and admit Trump was right, or repeal it and raise taxes on working class voters. Either way, Trump and the Gopi win. It's genius strategy. Democrats are left boxed in. Either they support the tax cuts and give Trump credit, or they scrap them and face backlash for hurting the working class. And if they choose the latter, the Republican candidate will have a field day. It's checkmate, and Dana Bash had nothing. So there you have it. Scott Bessant walked into that CNN interview, stayed composed, dropped facts, and ran circles around Dana Bash's weak arguments, snide tone, and scripted attacks. He put on a masterclass. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. If you enjoyed it takedown of Dana Bash, smash that like button, make sure to subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you never miss a moment of Celeb Daily info. It's Danny signing off. Catch you in the next one.